And boom. Welcome to episode 4 of the TruYou Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Pursley, where our podcast is guiding, navigating life's challenges, and achieving holistic well-being. We offer insights on overcoming obstacles in emotional, spiritual, financial, and physical aspects. We simplify the process of skill development, helping you reach your goals. Additionally, we provide practical advice on balancing family life while pursuing growth in business, fitness, and mental well-being. Join us for valuable tips to enhance various facets of your life's journey with our guest Joshua Walker here, a current client of Annuities and Autopilot who is literally working 9 to 5 at Netflix and went all in on his wealth management practice this year. And if that isn't crazy enough, he moved all the way to Europe, and as a investment advisor and retirement planning professional of many talents, the guy can even sing like those people you see on American Idol. Let's get into it. I wanted to call this episode Risk Management and what it takes to succeed as an advisor and for someone to have a successful retirement. What's going on, Josh? Happy to have you here, my man. And I always like to talk about, just when we first open up, we like try to get a little bit of context on the background of you were working a 9 to 5 and now you're an entrepreneur. And then also like you're a musician as well. So like naturally you have this like creative aspect of you as well. Like talk to us more about your background before you got into, especially in the advising world.
Yeah. So I was someone who always wanted to be a creative. I knew I was a creative. And right after college, because I went to University of San Diego, shout out San Diego. And after that, I immediately pivoted into the entertainment space. I worked at, have you ever seen that show Entourage on HBO?
Dude, no, what is it? Tell me about it.
So basically it's like, it's a TV series kind of inspired by like Mark Wahlberg's, lifestyle in Hollywood. He's a producer on the show, but the agency that show is centered around, that's the place that I had gone to work after college. It was from college to being in the agency space. And it was all these like, big money Hollywood actors and agents. And it was really just the experience of a lifetime, but it paid shit. Like the pay was so bad. And everyone kept saying, oh, if you just kind of stick in long enough, you'll get the bump up. Pandemic happened. So much like the millennials and the Gen Xers or whoever in 2008 who got laid off, it was like we got laid off as soon as we joined the workforce in 2019, 2020. And then I was kind of just floating around for a minute, man. Like I was bartending. I was taking like odd office admin jobs that, the sell was like, oh, you're going to, like take this job and we're going to put you with this like studio. It was like one lie after another, kind of. Great experience, but
Yeah.
never, like, I think this is the first time in my life at 26, 27, that I'm doing something that I'm more passionate about and just a lot more interested in. Because and then after that, I was working at Netflix for about a year and a half. Got there, layoffs. And they would always inspire you to work these like 50, 60-hour weeks. But, no bump in compensation, and kind of just felt like life was passing me by. And I was doing the assistant work for so long, for 4.5 years. And I had this whole existential crisis after my last relationship where I was like, I don't feel like I'm building anything. Like, I feel like I have so much more to offer the world in my skill set, but I don't feel like I'm developing any real skill sets just being at this desk taking shit from these overpaid executives. I know for a fact I can do their job twice as good as they can.
Yes.
And so I was kind of just angry, man. I was like angry for a long time because I wasn't where I wanted to be. In addition to that, you're just kind of like taking shit from people who you just know that you can outgrind, you can outwork. And working in that Hollywood space for so long just really I was so angry because I was like, I should be so much further along. So then my friend from Atlanta flew out to LA to visit me last year in April and showed me a pay stub for like 10 grand. And he was like, yeah, man, so selling life insurance, X, Y, and Z. I was like, bro, this is more than I make in like 3 months working at freaking Netflix. So like, just tell me what I got to do. And that was kind of like my introduction into the insurance and the advisory space. And it's something that I didn't start taking seriously until like the fall of last year. Because
Right.
you're just working the 9 to 5, like, and there's not much time for much else. In my case, I was working from like 7:38 to like 6:30, 7 p.m. that night. And I have no
At your
issue
normal
working.
job, was it like at your normal job, like
And that,
7:30, or were you like leaving that job to work on your stuff?
so at 7:30, that's when I would stop working. So 6:30, 7:30, that's when you would stop working sometimes, right? In addition to
Oh
that,
wow, okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So it's like you're up, because I was up and in the gym like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and then I would, be off at work and then come home. So you're just dead tired, like you're just beat into the ground. There's not room for much else. And during the fall, it's kind of like I was like, all right, I'm 26. I'll be 27 in April. I need to get out of here, and I need to like just throw myself into this business in the insurance game. I might fail, I might mess up, but I'm tired of living in LA. I'm tired of working in this like in this cultish industry. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the lies. Like, you can't finesse a finesse. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
I keep seeing like literally like the carrot on the stick. Like you're getting closer than
yeah.
that, you're getting closer than that, and they like you're almost there, then they just move it
Mm,
forward along. That's kind of what I'm seeing there, bro. And not like I hate that. I hate that because it's like, yeah, you're basically burning yourself out, you know?
you're burning yourself out, and then on top of that, like, you can always make money back. Like, I don't really necessarily get too emotional about like money anymore, losing money or doing whatever, because I know I'm me. I'm gonna make it back. Point blank. Period. Time is the thing that you realize you can't get back, and that's the thing for me that's more valuable now and just kind of moving forward. So I just felt like I lost so much time, and I think when my homie told me about annuities on autopilot last summer, I was just like, oh man, this sounds great. I'm sure it's a lot of money to get involved in, because like annuities are kind of like it's like high ticket insurance. You might you might as well be selling like yachts and boats sometimes
Yeah.
with
Oh
it.
my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
You ever see
Yeah.
those shops, by the way? Like just saying, like, have you ever been like, yeah, yeah, you go to like wherever their boats are. There's like it's like the car salesman for boats, and it's freaking. They got like I saw one time I was ironically in San Diego, and it was like by the I think the USSR. I hope I'm saying that right. To all my people in the Navy. But I remember seeing they had a whole club for people who had yachts and all that stuff. But it's like a whole thing in itself. Not to throw everything off in that
Yeah.
facet
Yeah.
there, but like I know what you're saying because it's a little bit different. You're dealing with the same demographic, but it's one's more for pleasure and one's more for like let me save your ass. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Private jets and boats, man. So I kind of
yeah.
I looked at annuities in the same light, and for me, I didn't want to be like a slave to the Hollywood machine, because I think working in the business for so long on the admin side, you see that a lot of artists or influencers or whatever, or actors, like, they don't belong to themselves. Like, they have owners. People own them. And I was like, I've got way too much Trinidadian blood in my system to ever function like that and ever be anyone's like servant, like at that level. But I was willing to be coachable, like having a mentor, learning from someone who I wanted to follow in their footsteps. I never really found that, because so many people were just so full of shit. You know what I mean? And the thing about insurance and investment advising, I was like, okay, well, at least I can do something where I'm in a position to help people and to make a contribution to their well-being, right? And that for me is like, all right, this seems to be much more rewarding long term. Year one in any business is going to be your hardest year, because it's like pushing a giant rock up a mountain. The first year is always the hardest one, and that's when people quit. But if you can make it through that first year, the knowledge and the insight and everything you learn after year one, like years 2 through whatever, is going to just be like a rolling ball down a cliff, like a cliff. You know what I mean?
You're finding your niche, right? Like you're
I
like
mean,
trying to
yeah,
find your right type of person. And I know that was something huge for you, even like when we were working together. Like it was like, you know, hey, let me start out broad, but like you said, literally you're getting your insights, your data points, right? And
mhm,
now you have more of a path that's leading you to, we could almost say, the promised land. But also simultaneously, you're able to feel, if I were you in this case, I'd feel a lot more fulfillment behind it, like knowing like no one's telling me what to do and they're underqualified. Okay. I have someone in my life that is also helping me go in the direction I want to go. People that actually believe in you, right? So you have your buddy, you have your mentor, you have just people around you, right? And I mean, just
right.
to see, like, I mean, even from my perspective, dude, it's been amazing to see like your growth. Like I've always admired that, but like you're finding your niche, you're able to now find a path of this is Jaywalk's path, which is ironic considering your last name. Right? Like, I mean, that's just punny. I guess because like I'm a new dad, so like that's probably what it is. But yeah, man. So like yeah, you find your first year, yeah, you learn all these lessons. Like, what are like the top few lessons that you've learned professionally, but also working with clients? Like what like that's a kind of a loaded question. We can start with you, and then we can dive into like your clients.
Yeah. First things first, I think one thing that I didn't like understand before jumping into the world of business or just advisory, like credibility is everything, right? Credibility is the reason why, although people know McDonald's slowly kills you, they still buy it because of the credibility, right? It's kind of like brands are so important. And I think for me, that's one thing that I severely underestimated. I could be telling you like what the cure for cancer is. I could be telling you the secrets to live long and to never age. However, if there's nothing online or no article about you somewhere, even if you're telling the truth, like the second coming of Christ, Jesus could be born in my backyard. But if there's nothing that validates it, people just aren't going to buy into it. Some will, right? But you won't get that level of reach and that level of like your clients won't have the same level of confidence in you versus when you have online credibility. And I think anytime you're working and doing anything online, credibility is everything. It's so important. And also you can't like you don't really sell. You're educating the clients and you're just kind of like leading a horse to water. You know what I mean? Like you're leading them, you're showing them, you're guiding them to make an informed choice or an informed decision. The sales process should feel like surfing. It should feel like flow. Like you get on your board and it should feel like you're flowing. If you're like feeling like this with people, it's the same thing in dating. Like if someone's giving you so many shit tests constantly, but they're not providing value on the back end with like love and affection and affirmation, then it's just why bring the headache into your life? Same thing is true for clients, right? So there's definitely like a flow, I think, when dealing with clients and with educating them. And I think with something as serious as investments, or anytime someone's stroking a check over $100,000, um, it involves a lot of trust. And I think the, the the credibility only reinforces that on the back end. So it's kind of like holding a toddler's hand because
Yeah, yeah.
they're been filled up and programmed with what society has told them, with what this person's told them. And in order for you to really make a lasting impact, they have to be receptive to you and they have to see value in it, right? Because if they don't see the value in it, then you're yelling at a deaf person, you know?
You know what's funny? I was watching this like I mean, obviously I do a lot of marketing stuff and I see a lot of videos out there and you know, it's like, are you building that gap that's far enough in between to where you're able to demonstrate to them that the risk of them not doing something with you is far more risk, or like not like them not taking action is far more riskier than them transacting with you in that type of way. Or there's also that empathy matter, right? Like where you're just like maybe not making the connection of how they feel to where they feel comfortable working with you. And I think like when you're instilling that authority process, I think that is where you're able to do that. Would you kind of see that for yourself as an advisor? Now I'm in the marketing world. Obviously, I help you guys out with this stuff, but I know what I have to do. But it's a totally different perspective on your all's front. So is it kind of universal, or like what does it take for someone like you or in your profession to get that authority? I mean, any
Yeah,
recommendations?
yeah. There marketers who deal with like branding and authority positioning, I'd say, are extremely valuable in this business and in this world because you're dealing with older people, right? And older people typically can be a lot less receptive to than younger people are because they have a lifetime of memories and experiences, decades built up over time. So if you're presenting them with new information, they need more credibility to back their decisions and their choices when they choose to work with you. Versus if you're selling like some pet products for your e-commerce store
Sure.
and TikTokers are playing with it, that serves as the credibility. You know what I mean? Like it's a bouncy ball, people are playing with it, cool. Versus, hey, here's why you should invest $300,000 of your money and come work with me, right? So you can
It's a little
see
bit
why
different.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's very, very, very different. And I think that's why in the advisory world, um, you should definitely work with someone who specializes in that before jumping in, especially if you were coming in with no experience like me. Like if I had to do it all over again, I would have been like, hey, reach out to Mike, get his package, and let him work with you over the span of 10 weeks to build your online authority first. Let him do his magic. Then when you get in front of people and you sit down with clients, it's like it goes from random guy on Facebook talking to me about the markets and numbers to this is a man who knows his shit and I should shut up and listen to him.
I love it. Okay, no, now that this is a perfect talk, going right into like clients even too. Like, um, a lot of times, you get people
Mm.
that are taking advice from the wrong people. To be
Oh, dude.
radically transparent from
Yeah.
me, and I'm a huge person of like, before I go into state something, I want to demonstrate that I practice what I preach. So like, for
Uh,
me, even today, I invested just a few $100 with someone on to learn how to create better and better offers. That's
right.
it. That's all I'm doing. I'm not asking my, website guy on how to create an offer. Or I'm not asking, someone who is fully in operations to help me out with empathy and um, building that gap like we were talking about in the sales process. I'm going to talk about that to someone who I know who has the expertise to do that. And I know what something is huge, especially with the online space. I mean, to kind of bridge this gap and flow into clients is like you want to be harder about qualifying people. And that's kind of what we're doing. I mean, from a client perspective and even in your perspective when you're talking to individuals and qualifying harder, like what the question I have for you is, what if someone's looking to, let's say, invest with you, right? They have, they want to preserve their wealth, for example. Who should they not take advice from and why?
Hmm. Definitely not your neighbors or your kids.
Okay. Okay, give me an example. Give me an example of what you dealt with. Like, what's that look like, and why would
Oh,
that be hurtful to that individual?
so it's kind of like people like to follow the crowd. You should never have a follow the crowd mentality when it comes to investing your money, like ever. And I think, 2008 showed a lot of people that people like following the crowd when it comes to investing their money. And it's fine when you're in your working years, like 18 to like 50, 55, 60. It's cool. But when you're in your retirement years, you really shouldn't follow the crowd, you know? You should come up with a specific tailored plan that's catered to your needs. Like I have two stories. The first one is I had a client, not a client, a lead, a prospect who was a former congressman. And this guy had like over $500,000 in debt. And he had 100% of his money tied up in the market. And I was just like,
100%?
100%.
100%?
Mutual
Oh my
funds. Yeah.
gosh. Could you imagine?
Dude, he was like, yeah, my CPA he doesn't like insurance or products or whatever. And then like, my broker, like he doesn't like him either. And I'm like, your advisors are telling you they don't like safe products and they've got 100% of your funds tied up in 100% risk. And you are 74 years old, and I remember I went back and I was talking to Sean about this, and
Okay.
he was Sean was like, Jesus Christ, man, like some of these people. And I'm like, yeah, you know, um, and there is nothing I could really say to him because the products that would be the perfect solution to his needs, because he was going off of hearsay, off of what his advisor and his CPA were telling him. I was like, I've got the perfect product to solve your problems, but because of your hearsay BS, you don't want to listen, right?
Well, here's
And
something too, right? Like I feel like a CP, like go into like expertise, right? Like a CPA. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to go to them about retirement and tax planning, maybe a little bit of tax planning and bookkeeping,
right,
maybe. But then you also what, like have your, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like his broker or what have you is focused on growth. Hopefully, you like to think, right? And
right.
like, while that is all fine and dandy, clearly there's a hole in this process, right? So like
Yo,
that's something too that I even realized when I was like doing taxes. I was like,
yeah,
a CPA, a bookkeeper, and a tax strategist, they're three different services and three different types of expertise. And
one of
that's
the
kind of what I'm
issues,
feeling with what you do and what's
yeah,
going
no,
on.
100%. One of the issues is that people like to carry 25-year-old and 30-year-old mindsets into their late 60s and 70s, right?
Okay. Right.
Meaning they
Okay.
still have the same attitude towards money that they did when they were a child or when they were like a young adult, and now they're old. And now suddenly the idea of locking their money inside of an investment product with no risk is terrifying to them. But what's even more terrifying is the fact that you think that saving, maybe you'll need to get a third of your money for a rainy day if something happens. You're now down a third in your whole portfolio, and you can't go back to work to make money back, and you're okay with that. That to me is a lot more terrifying. But people go to their CPAs, people go to brokers, people go to the wrong people for the wrong advice. It's like going to a dentist to get advice about your brain or your heart,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what people do. And you hear these horror stories that when the market does take corrections, and by the way, market corrections are very, very healthy. The market needs to correct itself in order to combat inflation. That's like one of the ways you actually fight inflation is the market needs, like, things need to devalue to recorrect because there's too much overvalue. Things are inflated. You know what I mean? Like, why are you paying $15 for 7 eggs? That's not
Freaking
the
A,
value.
right? Freaking A.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another story is I had a couple, and the husband, he was wonderful, very, very easy to work with. Um, Two couples actually. They understood the product, they understood the market, they understood everything. But because there was no article about me online, because I didn't have the credibility, the wives were more comfortable with what their neighbors or what their child was saying. versus an expert. You know what I mean? And one of the things I talked about with Mike Saunders was just that. And in his book, he actually highlights that in a whole chapter where he's talking about the exact same thing that I went through with with that person. You know what I mean? Like there's like nothing worse than being an expert in the field and someone chooses to take advice from their neighbor or their friend over you as the expert, and that just means that they don't respect your authority in that field. You know, they don't trust your
Yeah, it
authority.
doesn't make sense. Like just calling it out what it is. I mean, at its core.
Exactly. So, but like I said, sometimes you get couples, might make sense for one person, not the other. But that's why I think credibility is so important in this space. And for me, what it's taught me is that, you know, information is powerful. But the source of where the information is coming from to most people is even more powerful. You know, I can have an 8-figure business scamming people and ripping people off, but if there's good things being said about me in the news, people will still buy from me. You know,
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
weird
no,
as
just
it is,
going back to the whole McDonald's thing, right?
the whole McDonald's thing, like yeah, like people, you know, it's like once an idea is programmed and embedded in someone's subconscious mind, you know, they first have to deprogram. And then once you deprogram them, you have to reprogram them with a new belief system, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah. No, it makes sense. Like, I mean, yeah, you have definitely to pay attention to the source. And I mean, what about the people? Like, so like that's like one side of it. So like, what about? I mean, now you're kind of going into why people aren't necessarily making that decision, and you're taking the time to make those moves to make that happen. Simultaneously, you've also gotten a couple of people. You know,
yeah,
why did they
well,
decide to listen to you?
I'm still in the
Like,
sales process for for two of those people. One of them completely just
sure,
ghosted me.
okay,
You run into some people like that who, you know, they get caught up or whatever, but you know, after working with this one woman who's 80 years old, mentally sharp as a whip. Sharp as a whip. She read everything, asked her questions, and she just got it. You know,
was very, very serious about solving that problem.
very, very serious about solving that problem. But the people who have been receptive to me, they typically, there's something about me to them that they find just more trustworthy,
You
right?
got that
Maybe
wave going. You got that surfing side of
it might
things.
be the wave, it might be the attitude, it might be the energy. I have no idea. But when I did my presentations to them, I was definitely a lot more confident and had a lot more knowledge because, you know, I'd go back to Sean and Todd and figure out how to overcome certain objections, right? And then, you know, he would re-empower me with more knowledge about the market and having to, you know, deal with X, Y, Z. So when I went to do my webinars, it's just like sit down and listen. You know what I mean? Another thing that I also learned is talking to another advisor who also works in the retirement spaces. When you go into these presentations for these, you know, like annuities or whatever, you got to fill up your calendar. Like you got to go 3-4K in one session, and you got to get at least 150 to 200 people to listen to you because you want at least 20 to 25 appointments just so that you always just have more ammunition because it's like, all right, this person, this person, this person, this person. But let's say you only close 3 deals that month, or like 2 deals, but those 3 deals is like 40K. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, yeah,
I think with this business, you have to cast a very, very, very wide net when you're working with people online. It has to be very, very wide. I think one of the things I started out with is I wasn't confident enough in my knowledge of just advising and investing in just the market like I am now. And I was being too scarce with my budget. You have to go a little bit bigger, a little bit broader And then once you have the credibility, you use that to reinforce that. So now instead of people, let's say 10 people book on the calendar and like 5 fall off because they can't find anything about you online. Now you do that same thing. Now nobody falls off. Everyone's like, I need to talk to him. I need to have a conversation with him. And now okay, you can't short sell your budget on this. Like you need to go in, you need to commit, right? You need to have a proven sales process that works. You need to know how to overcome objections.
Oh, preach,
And
brother. Preach. I say that so
yeah,
hard because literally, like, I coach some people too, and I'm like, listen, like, marketing is only gonna show you like what holes are gonna be in your process, and then you're able to improve and go from there. And so,
yeah,
like, I see in my brain right now, bro, like, you're about to you're already exploding in this case. Like, you saw your problems, you fixed the sales process. Now
mhm,
you're just fixing the credibility side of things, just with the whole online side. And the whole point is going back to what you said at the beginning of this conversation was being coachable, dude.
yes,
And so, like,
coach.
that's the whole thing, guys. And I think, like, if you guys are like looking to work with Josh, especially in the like advising side of things with the retirement planning and things in that nature, know that this guy is open and is open to feedback and things in that nature. Simultaneously, he's getting solid information from the best experts in the freaking world, guys.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I say that not just because, like, we've worked together, but it's the thing is, it doesn't matter. I had a guy who came on and we actually had to let go. And he said something very powerful. It's not a matter of what you say you're going to do. It's a matter of what you're doing. And this guy's a testament to that. And so, while he's providing you all, different concepts for your financial future, definitely take it seriously and play your own game, guys. So, but yeah,
yeah,
like simultaneously while you're playing your own game, just like how he's running his business, he's getting his data points together. You guys yourself have data points. And if you play your
mhm,
own game, and as you all, if you've seen a couple of our episodes in the past, we talk about soft offense. Have a call with Josh. Play that soft offense. Keep that open mindedness, just like how he does the same thing. And I think that goes a long way with someone who practices what he preaches, at the same time. So, anyways, moving forward, I figured that was something that was just, I had to highlight that, man. Like, that's the one or two things that matter. I think something that's never going to go away is, how do you connect with people and that vibe we were discussing. And, you know with all this being said, how can someone, I mean, I'm not, let's do some hypotheticals or what have you. I know you can only go so deep into like financials and advice and things of that nature. You don't definitely, we're not going to call this financial advice, but but think about someone who is, entering retirement or about to enter retirement. What are some things they should consider, especially when they're looking for someone to work with? I know there's different avenues, but like focus more so on your expertise and guide them to where they can have a stress-free retirement.
yeah, absolutely. The sooner you start thinking about it, the better. I'd say like if you start to think about it in your 40s, you're eons ahead of the game, and you can be in your because I've talked to people who are like in their 70s, and they've got to start thinking about RMDs and
And what are RMDs again?
required minimum distributions.
Heck yeah, bro. Heck yeah. I didn't. It's funny. Like when I was learning about, it, I'm like, what does that stand for? And I was like, oh, keep going, brother.
What does it stand for? It stands for the devil. That's that, that's it's like you will own nothing. But
Like Waterboy, she the devil.
yeah, no, I mean the sooner you get real about, okay, how do I want to spend my retirement? What is it that I actually really enjoy doing outside of work, right? How conservative should I be? The more conservative you are when it comes to your retirement, the better, right? You don't want to have to deal with what ifs. You want to only deal with what will be. Like, these are the facts. And the sooner you get ahead of that, the better. You don't want to be in a position where you're in your 70s, or you're about to come into your RMD years, and you just now begin thinking about that. So you're having to take your 30-year-old brain that's now inside of a 73-year-old body and having to reprogram that at 70 something years old when presented with new information. A lot of people have to do that. They have to be reprogrammed. And it's very, very difficult to do. The more open-minded you are and the more receptive you are, you'll be much better off. And to go to retirement experts for retirement solutions. Stop gambling with your money. People love to gamble, and I can't blame them. You know, you win big, you win big, you lose big, you lose big. But think about the people who you're going to be leaving a legacy for, like your children, your grandchildren. Start thinking about those people before they become full-grown adults. You know what I mean? Because then by then you're having to make very, very difficult choices. But, the sooner you just, like in prayer, or maybe when you're having to like journal, just get real about what really matters to you. Start from your core values and what you really, really care about. And then just kind of like go from there, like, hey, I don't need to be making or spending all this money in my years of retirement. I bought my house. I got, a couple years of payments left in the mortgage. I married someone who I still am in love with, or maybe they passed away. And, this is it, because none of us are going to be here forever. Right. So just have those conversations with yourself and with the people who are closest to you. And then you come talk to people like us, and then we can steer you towards the fountain of youth. We can take you to where the water actually is. But you have to have the right mindset, right? Because if your mindset is whacked, then you're going to struggle a lot more than what's necessary.
So what I got from that as well is like, you have to kind of know, like, I think about relationships with money and all that stuff. And, there's, I don't know if it's in the Bible or not, but like it was talking about like, where your heart is, by what you spend your money on. And you kind of you'll see like different contradictions of like who you think you are versus like, what what it is, right? And I love that you said like core values. Like, guys, like, what do you all value? And I think that paints a really good picture for your future. So I loved how you said that, man, because I mean, we get influenced by a lot of different things, people around us, things that we consume on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And then we wonder why we're feeling lost. Are we playing our own game or not? So what you're saying is, kind of understand like what your future, what you want it to look like by the realization of like what you actually value, and then kind of move from there.
Right. Right.
And so when I'm moving from there, I have everything written down. What are the two? Do you know like what avenues you're typically seeing when you're talking to these individuals who are like preparing to go into retirement? Is it? I mean, I hear the term a lot of long-term growth and preservation, but like, what do you typically see? Maybe humanize a little bit, then go into actually what it means, I guess. Because when I hear long-term growth and preservation, I'm like, what is that exactly? Like,
So the more people have to protect, the more they want to protect. So when they've accumulated more wealth and money, I won't say wealth, they don't have wealth, they have cash. When they've accumulated more cash, right, they have more to protect. That becomes more valuable to them. I want to protect this. I'm okay not having access to all of it, but I just want to like protect this, and I want to keep this in my tribe, right? The other side of that is I just want to maintain my lifestyle. I don't want to have to decrease my living standard in my retirement years. Those people typically don't have as much to protect, right? But they just kind of want to stay where they're at. They want to do a little bit of traveling, not too much, but they want to be able to go around the world with their grandkids and not have to worry about where their money is and if they're ever going to lose any of it to the market. And so, because our market in the U.S. is like a bipolar teenager. It's good for 2 years. That third year, panic attack. So
Yeah.
they're always having to look over their shoulder based on who the president is at the time, what's going on overseas, all of those things. But the majority of people just want to just maintain their lifestyle, have enough left over to fix the roof. More higher net worth folks typically just want to protect it from taxes. And they are actually more afraid of RMDs than people who are sometimes on the lower net worth side, because $1 million can vanish fast during RMD years, and the market is tumultuous. Like it can go in like 5 years. Like I've seen $1 million just like that.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you see it like more? Was it more so on a client side, or was it a family member? A lot of times, like, I mean,
Both.
the reason why I started helping you all out was because, like, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I had my grandma, like, is a perfect perfect example. Love her to death, fantastic woman. But they had to take a second mortgage on their house, and they're running scarce of money, and we're having to travel. Up and down. I live in Kentucky, they're in Minnesota, so it's like a 10-hour, 12-hour drive. Typically, it's my dad or someone who has to go up there and help out or try to convince them to try and move to downsize, because it's time for them to downsize, and they just won't. And I say that because, like, if you don't know what you all want and you all need to focus on like growth or protecting or whatever the case may be, just know that like it does affect people around you. And like I even see it with my dad. Like, I mean, he's in his 50s now, still having to handle the financial side of things because people aren't being open, but simultaneously, like, maybe they just didn't know what they wanted, and it's that window is closing. And what do you do,
Yeah.
right? That burden,
Right.
So,
Right.
but yeah, like, I mean, for you, like, that's what I saw. And that's why I used my skill set to help you all out, because I saw what it did. And I know, like, if I help a lot of people get what they want, I know I will eventually get what I need. But like,
You're the
for
pizza
you,
delivery.
you said a client, huh?
You're the pizza delivery guy, and you just want to
That's
deliver pizza.
it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I can get some
Yeah.
Bitcoin while I'm in that.
We'll definitely get
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, like, I mean, you said you saw it in a client, but also a family member a little bit. Like, what did that look like? Maybe from the family member
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. My grandfather lost like 800K during 2008. His mom had bought like Marvel stock when Marvel was in its inception stages. And when his mom passed, she passed to him. And then he decided to put it inside of like an IRA or like a 401k that was tied up in some mutual stocks. And like over from 2000 to 2008, it was just, and then he only had about $250,000 left from that million. Versus if he went to a retirement expert, he would have not only kept it, he would have multiplied it significantly, not lost anything. But because he went the traditional advisor route, he lost it. He went to a cardiologist to solve a brain problem.
There it is
So,
again. Yeah, no, I see exactly what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, something that's like out in the public, I mean, while we're kind of on this subject too, like, there's a lot of backlash with like annuities. Like, why do you think that
yes.
is? Because like a thing is,
Yeah.
I was talking to I was talking to before you and I met. This was crazy. This was like it was my 28th birthday actually. It was like this my last birthday. Literally, I went to Michigan, met Todd, but also met his mentors, people that are going multiple states to do in-person seminars, and they're doing like the brokerage itself is doing over like $100 million in production, insane stuff, and 90% of their business is fixed index annuities. And they kind of dove into a little bit on like the variable annuities and like how everyone got annuitized during the 90s. And it's like no one ever really got when I say no one, I mean like the public never forgave that side of things. Could you go into maybe a little bit more insights on that a little bit? Like, I mean, because I see all the benefits for fixed indexing, but the variable sounds like the devil too. Like,
The variable is the
that's just me
variable is,
ignorantly speaking.
I'll put it to you like this. This goes back to credibility.
Okay. All right. Cool. This is good.
Right. I'm gonna put it to you in the spectrum of dating in a relationship.
I like
right?
that. That's good.
Todd grew up in a broken home with abusive parents, a toxic environment with school. And so there's a lot of trauma and hot rocks and lava inside of Todd's brains that came out during his first relationship with his first girlfriend when he was 18. He was an asshole. He wasn't nice and did some abusive things. And, that girl left him with a negative Yelp review because Todd had all of these, nasty things buried in his subconscious, and he never learned to take accountability. His dad was there. Todd then goes on to get lots of therapy, right? Counseling, mental health coaching, body coaching, and he essentially has to learn to be himself again, right? By the time Todd's 30, Todd's built a 7-figure practice, right? Goes to church every Sunday, helps millions of people. He feeds millions of people around the world, right? Wrote a self-help book. He was on Ellen all the time. Todd then gets into a new relationship when he's 30, and his current wife thinks the world of him, right? He gets a 5-star review because of the evolution that took place from the time Todd was 18 to 30 was like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. He's a completely different man, right? Because he had to work on this. The same concept is true for annuities, right? Because it left a bad taste in some people's mouths, that one product, they never really got the full scope of what they are, how many different types of annuities there are, and what their purpose and what their function is, right? It kind of all just gets looped into the same category. You get labeled as toxic and abusive. You get lumped in, right? However, they don't know about the fixed index or any of these other products over here because that one product screwed over so many families, right? Because maybe they had a bad agent or like a broker, was just trying to hustle them and sold them on the upside and none of the downside, right?
Lack of transparency. Yeah. Okay.
Lack of transparency, and there hasn't really been a lot of. I mean, it's just like how a lot of CPAs stopped trusting and working with advisors after 2008 because advisors lost CPAs clients a lot of money, and to this day, they still don't really like working with each other because one is all about risk, and one of them is all about not risking.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same principle is true for annuities. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, lack of education, and people don't like the idea of locking up all of their money. Nobody does. But I just think it's a lack of education surrounding the product.
And like even in like that's like you also went a lot into like the professional in itself too, which I think was pretty cool. What another thing is too, like earlier we are talking about like what do these people actually want, right? Like the core value side of things. And like you said yourself, like these products have different functions, you know? It's like, did the individual even know what they actually wanted during that time? And when do they start thinking about it? You know, like just trying to give like even you all some grace as well. It's like you all meaning like people who even didn't even intentionally sell the right product, but based off of what information you were given to that advisor that could potentially even affect your results. So I think the lack of transparency, whether on the consumer side or even on the advisor side, I think if you two can build some type of trust together to get that, I think you will find that there is a bridge to the other side. And that's just kind of what I'm understanding, just this conversation. How can you all come together in that? And what are some ways that how does an advisor do that? You know, how does an advisor open the door for transparency to make that individual more comfortable with that? Because like even like I was telling you about my grandparents stuff, like I mean they won't even be transparent with like their own kids, and I get that's like it's a personal thing, but what can an advisor control to start opening those doors? I know you all have a different sales process, I get that, but what comes to mind? How can you get people to be more transparent with you?
Mm.
You can do a dating example too.
They first have to be willing to unlearn whatever it is they've already learned about it. Right? It's kind of like goes back to what I was saying earlier, credibility, right? A credible source or a credible person in that someone's life, their best friend, someone they trust, whether it be a figure on the news, influencer, whatever, has to do that work because they have the credibility and the authority to help them deprogram what they've learned and to reprogram them with a different belief system. Because when you're dealing with that, right, like there's a stigma around annuities, that has to deal with belief. And in order to overcome that objection, you have to educate. So you first have to understand the belief, understand why they believe it, deconstruct it, re-educate them, and then from there, they will reprogram their own belief system because they have new information. But with annuities, it's harder because it's a larger sum of money that's being moved at once. So the level of credibility has to be high.
Yeah, no, it's like going back to the whole mental game, and like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Exactly.
And it's like I believe it just seems like as you're having that conversation with that person as well, it sounds like, you know, the reason why you want to have like an introduction call first and then kind of go into everything else is you can kind of get a good feel for like how open that person is. So I know there's one half of it, and then there's the other half of like what do you actually do, you know, and how does it work, and how are you going to protect me, but also like how do you treat your kids, how do you treat your family, and things of that nature, to where do they feel protected, do they not feel protected, what are some challenges that you've had along the way, going back to core values. So credibility and core values are like the I think the ultimate bridge, it feels like.
Credibility and core values are everything.
Yeah,
You know?
man. So like as far as, you know, I guess at the end of the day, like what are some skill development things that you would want to kind of improve on, even
Yeah.
yourself, maybe even through this business? I know like communication's one thing, but also you have education, you're crushing that, you have a lot of credibility now, and you're building that up simultaneously as well. what are some like key learnings as someone who's coming into maybe this type of business who wants to build things for themselves? Like, what are some key things you would like to tell them? Advisors, brokers, retirement planning experts, annuity experts. I'll just say annuity experts. That's like the main thing for us.
People who are new to the business or people who have already been in the business for a long time?
I would say people who are, kind of speak from like your perspective, right? You're leaving your job, you got your licensed. What are some things I better know before I start really getting into it? New people.
Oh, you need a good team, a good agency. Do not go with the big IMOs, like the giants, right? Don't try and compete with the agent that's doing $60K a month in like AP on the final expense side, or on the annuity side. Don't try and compete with the agent that's doing $200K a month in commission. I promise you, that is a final product, right? I would say, seriously, like, do not try and compete with those men and women, because they have gone through extensive sales training to get to that point to where they're able to put up with those numbers. Everyone's concerned about leads for like annuities or life insurance. Don't focus on the leads. Get with the team that is focused on your personal growth and making you the best salesman possible, teaching you to overcome objections. In my case, give you free leads. You might not take 120% on the advance, but you're also not having to burn through cash to get people on the phone that may or may not convert. Start with a small team of hungry agents who are experienced, who are invested in the people that they work with before jumping in. Because you have to understand, in this game, in this business, just like anything else, just like e-commerce or whatever you're doing, there's levels to the game. Don't try and take on the boss battle on level 9 when you ain't even past level 1, 2, and 3 yet.
I love it. What are you seeing, man? Like with these guys doing like all these numbers, are there any like common things that you're seeing, like as far as, again, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right?
Yeah.
You have personal development. What do those habits look like? How can like, think about someone even who's just even 18, just trying to improve.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the same individual here. Don't get me wrong. Someone who's new into this, but what are the inputs and the outputs, or the one or two things that matter on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis?
The agent that does the final expense agent that does 60K, 50K, 70K a month in AP is just like the annuity agent who does 150K, 200K a month in AP, right? Something that they both have in common is they genuinely care about the client. They listen to the client's needs, right? They understand that this is a game about volume, and they are masterful at handling and overcoming objections. So much so to the point that when they get an objection, it's like a katana cutting through sliced cheese. It's just, there's an agent on our team who overcame like 4 different objections for a life insurance call. 4 different objections
Okay.
in the first like 3 minutes. And that ended up turning into a $300,000 whole life policy.
Eesh.
So that's what,
Dang.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
separates like the 7-figure, high 6-figure agents from the person who spends $1,000 on leads but doesn't have any sales training, doesn't know how to overcome, and just quits after, they don't break even. Failure isn't failure. Failure is just finding another way that something doesn't work. You have to learn from it. Okay, what did I do wrong? What what I mean? Like that's That's really all that is. And you have to have the right mindset to understand that that's what that is, and then try to attack it from a different angle. It's the same thing with objections. You didn't handle that objection well. Try doing this instead. Oh, that works.
Yeah, like just trying to switch the perspective a lot of the times. And like I think about buyer, a lot of times buyers are liars in the beginning. You know, it's like you get that one objection. That's those smoke screen objections too. Like, you know, just like one, like I need to think about it. I understand that you need to think about it. Like I also have a lot of the information. What's something that we're potentially unclear of? You know, how can we, and hopefully like then there'll be that second objection. But typically I find that like that 1 to 3, like that third objection has been the real one. Have you kind of saw the same case? You feel like it's across the same board? I like objections. I'm always working on that myself too. Ironically that you bring that up, but like even, I mean, just in general, man, like, is that what you're kind of seeing? Like even in your line of work?
So with annuities, it was much harder
Mm-hmm.
because there's a gap of time that passes between each time you speak to somebody.
Okay.
The thing is with that is they have a whole 7 days or a whole 5 days to come up with a new set of objections that you're not there to overcome beforehand. That's why credibility is so important. So that way
Mm-hmm.
when they like their friend or their daughter, oh, but like they were featured on Fox. Oh, they must know their then. You just overcame that
Yeah.
objection with to
Without
overcome
even
the
having to. Yeah.
because,
See, I learned things
because
on like even talking to you all. Like it's fantastic. I love
yeah,
that.
because you're so like okay, like Kanye's controversial. He says a lot of really, really outlandish stuff.
Yes. For sure.
But he's Kanye, people are still going to listen to his music because he has the credibility. You see what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Credibility.
Oh yeah.
With
Now,
life insurance, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, you're good. Now with life insurance, I just came up. I just thought of something, but that can wait. Keep going. You're good.
Oh no, I was going to say, with life insurance or anything that has to deal with the one call close, I'd say it's actually a little bit easier because they throw up on you and you can do some Aikido and stuff. Like you can like right then and there on the spot,
Yeah.
get out in front of everything in the first 3 minutes. And then after that first 3 minutes of you overcoming those objections, now your sales process can begin. You see what I'm saying? Versus with something that is more high ticket, it's harder. And that's what I think with high ticket anything, anytime you're dealing with people's money, you know, upper 6 figures, 7 figures, there's got to be an NBC article about you. Or
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
a large following somewhere, because otherwise it's gonna like it doesn't matter how ironclad your sales process is. The only way to combat that is you have to have a rigorous amount of volume.
You know what I love about that though? Is simultaneously you're building credibility because you have a lot of volume.
Exactly. So it's got to be like one or the other, but having both, that's an 8-figure agent.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right on the point. And so like I'm gonna pivot a little bit on you real quick. So we're talking a lot about like, you know, what these beginners can deal with, right? When they're first coming into it, what the 1 or 2 things that matter, caring about the individual and making sure you're able to invest into personal development. That means your sales process. That means, you know, again, the metrics that matter, credibility, all that jazz. Now that's all professional related. How are you maintaining? I'm not going to say a balance because I don't really believe in balance, but like more a work life balance too. Like, what are you doing outside of it to keep your head focused? Because I also know this is sales. You deal with objections. You deal with rejection. There's a lot of rejection, all right? And going back to core beliefs simultaneously as well, that can also throw off your non-negotiables, your core values. Like, how are you being able to manage outside of the professional side of things? What's going on to kind of help you stay consistent?
There's a question like how am I finding like the balance between, like the grind and like this like the sales process and then like my personal life or
You got it. Yeah, work-life balance. Sorry,
oh
I ask a
yeah.
lot of loaded questions sometimes, so bear with me. But I try to give
No,
context,
no,
and then there's a question. So
I just want
yeah,
to make sure I was understanding the question. Um,
yeah.
you got to find a hobby. So for me, I love songwriting. Um, I love Muay Thai. I meet the best people in fighting, like the best, like men and women. Like you just meet great people because fighting is so humbling, and you have to have a lot of discipline, which ultimately does make you a better salesman, right? Strong body makes for a strong mind. And then there's music, which is like the feminine side. Um, and that's always there. So that's just kind of my way of decompressing. And then, friends, events, you have to have balance in your life in order to maximize all of your manifestations because everything in your life is connected. Like it all does tie up together. Um, but you have to reconnect with who you were when you were 6 and
I
get
love
real.
that. That's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
good, dude.
yeah, yeah. You have to
Yes.
reconnect with your 6-year-old self and have a conversation with that kid and just, be like, okay, what is it that I really, really enjoy doing outside of this? Because it's like a lot of this is like, yeah, it's hustle, it's survival, it's primal masculine freaking energy, right? The energy of like survival. But how do you get out of that? Because
Yeah.
it's not a comfortable place to be all the time. And so
Yeah,
when
you gotta have fun, bro. Yeah, I love it. Like I
that's
got my 2-year-old now, and like I just see her get so excited over seeing
yeah,
squirrels.
squirrels, man.
like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, that's so good that you said that. Cause like, what's a 6-year-old Joshua, man? Like,
Star
what's
Wars,
he doing?
Star Wars, baseball, Lord of the Rings, like anime, like that's what
Yes, dude.
I was talking to someone who like she was because I was talking to I was talking to my friend and she was like, yeah, my first relationship I was 14 and it was a serious relationship and I was just like, man, when I was 14, I didn't even like I liked girls, but that was like not a I was more excited about Halo,
Okay, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
like
Dude,
Halo, baseball tournaments, like that was a lot more important to me
that was
than
the life.
you know.
I love it, man. Dude,
I was
I got a little bit of baseball cards back here, man. Nothing too crazy, but I mean,
we have
it's
to come
I
check out
love it,
those
man.
cards.
Huh?
We're gonna have to come check out those cards. I'll be back in the States next month because I'm going to Argentina to look at some apartments and everything. But yeah, we're gonna have to link up and
Yeah, dude. I saw, it was funny. I saw this reel. It was like whatever. It was so random. It was a golf reel. Okay, it said whoever, like, whatever letter this starts out with, they owe you a round of golf. And I cannot shit you not. I shit you not. It was a J.
really.
And that's you, bro. There it is, dude. I mean, I'll try golf. I don't know. It's just something random, but yeah, dude. I got like let me grab the baseball ones. We'll see what we got. There's some where like it's like I like this card, so I'm gonna keep it. But like I tell you, one of the hardest cards to find on here was not even like the old version of the Shoeless Joe Jackson. Could not find him as a 1950s, 60s, give or take. Like this is the whole New York Yankees. A little bit of Lou Gehrig there, Bob Feeler. Got a little bit of, oh, and I'm from Minnesota, so we got Kirby Puckett in there too. So that was like one of our guys, rookie Barry Bonds. But Anyways, just little fun things there. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even know you were into all that. Like,
Dude, yes, you kidding me?
but yeah, dude. I got some basketball ones, but I got this like it's more of like I got the rookie Jordan. It's not the real rookie one. It's like the something of the decades. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I saw it once on like I think it was like on Facebook or something like that for like $50. I was like, oh my gosh, a rookie Jordan. People are idiots for not buying this. And then I found out it was like
Mhm.
something of the decades. I can't remember, but I will get that eventually, brother man. But
Nice.
yeah, that's crazy. Oh, but yeah, so I guess just to kind of wrap this up, like what are some like key messages you want to get out there towards people who are either getting to be an entrepreneur, right? Just entrepreneur in itself. They're starting their own business, or maybe someone that's in your field.
It's just like dating. It's just like when you're learning to just get good at dating, failure is normal. Rejection is normal. That's the standard.
Yeah.
Like,
The mental game, right?
is
Where can they potentially connect with you, man? Like where are you like on I know you have Instagram, somewhere on Facebook here and there. Where else can they find you?
Instagram and Facebook is where I'm at now. I'm working on two websites right now, just for different projects that I'm working on. But Instagram and Facebook this year, because I'm living overseas now, and one thing that I'm gathering over here is that people are definitely much more kind of plugged into the present moment here.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm spending a lot less time on social media, and people sometimes are like, where are you? What are you doing? I don't see it. I'm like, bro, like you're not supposed to see everything I'm seeing, bro. That's how life is always been.
That's
I'm
so
just
good.
no, like my
Yeah.
head is in like a book, or I'm rehearsing sales calls with my partner. Not my romantic partner, but like my work partner, and people get that word
Right.
confused. Um, and we're just kind of just going back and forth. But I'm working like, you know, February through April, like I was like down money wise, but then like April, May, like I'm picking back up. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
just that's what entrepreneurship is, and that's what I'll leave them with. No matter what you're doing, uh, it is 80% mental and 20% action. You can only do it so much, but if you got this right, you're good. But it's about the emotional endurance. This is a game of just emotional endurance. If you can stick it out through year one, the knowledge and the wisdom and the insight that you gain in that year just with experience alone, you'll crush everything else. Like Kyle, I plan on jumping back into work with you in the fall because Mike's program he said it's about like 6 to 10 weeks for him to build your credibility online. And there's so much work he does in the back end, because I was like, before I spend another dime with anything, I want to be sure that my credibility is just so fire and so on point when I sit in front of people, so that every time they sit down in front, it's just like, all right. And then on
You get
top of
that
that,
conviction just pulling outside of you, man. Be like,
yeah,
shut up and
yeah,
let's crush it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
no, that's
and
awesome.
and it's like you've got all the experience from Q1, right? And then so you go into Q3 and you're just like, all right, I'm going to crush this. And then also it's right around election time. So who knows
Things
how the market
change, baby. Things change.
things change,
Yeah.
Um and if the market is down, that's the perfect time. As messed up as it sounds to say, but that's like the perfect time to just hop back in, because now
That's
you
a
can,
bonus point for all y'all people looking into Josh's story right here. Yeah, wait till election year just to launch your stuff, cause
Mhm.
boom.
In chaos, no matter how crazy it gets, lies opportunities. Because I'll tell you what, I was talking to my mom the other day, and my stepdad got laid off from his job. More people I used to work with at Netflix got laid off. There's just more layoffs, and I'm like, you know what? That just reinforces my decision to do what I'm doing now, because the greatest investment you can ever make is in yourself, right? No one can ever take that away from you, because the economy that we're in now, and moving forward is a skill-based economy. The 9 to 5, like, mom and pop dream is dying. It's dying. And, with the way these corporations are moving, it's going to be a small group at the top, and everyone else they're just going to grind them out. So personal development is key, not just in the sense of, living a more well-balanced life, but also just in your lifestyle, your career, what you want to do. And for me, that's kind of been my mindset shift since like January. Has just been like, I've just been undergoing so much personal development because being out here, waking up so far away from home, there's like, I just have mornings where I'm just like, damn, even if he's annoying me, like I miss my stepdad, like I miss my mom, I miss my dad, like complaining about work. You know what I mean? Like it's like the stuff you think that you won't
The
miss, that
little things,
the
man.
little
I
things.
will tell you, bro. I will tell you to make yourself feel a little bit better. My wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time. It was like our first year together, and we went to Italy and Spain for about a month, 8 weeks, I think is what it was. So I guess almost 2 months. Dude, when we came back to America, like there was a weird energy, man. We felt there was like a little bit of stress. I've talked about how like sometimes cultures they work to live or live to work.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
kind of live to work. I feel like where you're at, you work to live, which is very, very healthy. Like I think that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
And I think about that because this is real, man. Like no one talks about the mental game, man. Helping clients and paving the path for them to work with you, but then also like, what about you? What about the individual that's actually trying to build the bridge? When you're physically trying to build something, there is sweat, there is communication, and risk with it all.
Yeah.
And that's also like, a random thought here. It's kind of why I like, like the way sales is transitioning. It's more of like an educational type of thing. But how you do one thing is how you do everything. We're learning not to force things so harshly, but we're willing to pour into ourselves, and be self-aware,
Right.
And I just, as you're talking, man, I just think about that. Like that's like real talk right there. Because I had an uncle that passed away a month or so ago, and I had a conversation with him before he left. I was in the room, and my aunt, I guess you could say, she was like, why is your family so up all the time? I'm like, honestly, I think it's more so a mask, and it's to help you necessarily. She's like, no, keep it real all the time. And I wish people did that a lot more. So I don't know, a lot of things are just coming to me as you're kind of going into that, like that was a rant, hardcore, my bad, but still, it's real.
That's real,
And
man.
so like as you're transitioning, doing these things, yeah, like
Dude,
focus on the one or two things that matter.
there's people on my team now, like on my sales team, who are doing like 10K a week consistently, like an AP, and then there's people on like the larger team who are doing like 20K, 30K a week in AP. They're grinding, they're hustling, but it's kind of like, all right, this is where I was actually supposed to be, like where I'm at exactly right now. And looking at God, I'm like, okay, I see why things needed to happen the way that they happened, right? Because now it's like I'm in a great spot, and just gonna continue to work and grind out the rest of the year, man. I still love where I'm at versus where I could be if I was still at Netflix,
Oh, could you imagine?
stuck in LA. And there's absolutely nothing worse than being stuck somewhere where you loathe and you just don't want to be, working with people you don't want to work with. That is
The
like,
movies throw you off a little bit, huh? Like, I remember when I went to Hollywood one time, or like in that like LA and all that. I'm like, man, womp.
cat, bro.
Like,
The whole
yeah.
city is cat, bro. I mean, it's fun for like a vacation, or like if you want to get away. But the more travel you do, like Thailand, Dubai, Egypt, Rome, Copenhagen, Copacabana, Rio, Buenos Aires, like the more traveling you do around the world, the more you realize that like a lot of places in the US are just cap. It's cap, bro. It's cap. I have no other way to describe it. But the more of the world I see,
Yeah.
the more I'm like, I really love and appreciate America. Like I'm a red-blooded American for sure. But in terms of lifestyle, mm, for me personally, there's better places to live. And for people like me who have an entrepreneurial spirit, who are okay with risk, like it's fun.
Yeah, dude, you get to like really see like what you're made of and like what you value though, like you're not getting influenced by everything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah.
you got me like, man, I gotta hit up my wife and be like, when are we leaving again?
Yeah, you guys should go to, I'm trying to think that you guys should hit, uh, you guys should definitely go to Dubai in the fall if you can. Like after it's cooled off, one of the
Really?
safest. Oh yeah, you guys should go to Dubai. Um, you you guys should go to Rio, and I'm trying to think. If you can this summer, take her to Hvar, take her to Split in Croatia. If you can make the trip, you should definitely take her to Hvar. I promise you, she will love
How
it.
do you spell that? Havar? Havar?
H
What's it
V
called?
A HVAR, Hvar.
Okay.
It's a it's a little island off the coast of Croatia. A lot of Americans don't know about it, but
No, I definitely don't. Like, check this out. I'm gonna come back and share my screen real quick.
yeah, because I'm flying out my girlfriend, um, and we're gonna like that's where we're gonna be.
There we go. 15 hours. No sweat. Heck yeah. Well,
Yeah, man.
cool. I guess at this point, um, that's the beautiful part about remote work and improving your skill sets, right? So just to kind of put this to a conclusion here, like learn from this guy, adapt, execute, overcome, whatever you're at. It's going to be how you do one thing is how you do everything. Understand what you value and understand, here's who you are and here's who you want to be. What's that gap going to, what's it going to take for you to get there? Whether you're looking to prepare for retirement or you're looking to help someone out with getting a better retirement. So again, Joshua, you're the man. Always has been. I appreciate you having us on here, you coming on here as well with
Of
the
course,
TruYou
man.
Unfiltered podcast. Thank you so much.
Peace.
And guys, I'll be sure to put a link so that way you can definitely connect.